This is the number one system to save your marriage before it's too late. This is the exact system any man can use to win back his wife's trust and connection, even if she's completely shut down or saying it's too late. Picture this. You walk into the house after a long day. She's there, but cold. No eye contact, no warmth. You've apologized. You've given her space. You've tried being better, but it's like nothing works. You feel invisible. That was me. And now, after rebuilding my own marriage and guiding hundreds of other high-achieving men through the heroic husband method, we've helped restore connection in situations most people would have called hopeless. Let's break something wide open. This isn't just about your marriage feeling off. This is a full-blown emotional trust breakdown. And most men, especially high performers, don't realize it until it's almost too. Why? Because you're successful. You lead teams, you fix problems fast, you've used commanding respect in business or battle. So naturally, you try to solve your marriage crisis like a logistical challenge. That's not how it goes. You communicate more, do more chores, you be extra nice. But what you don't see is the emotional ground underneath her has already collapsed. When that happens, logic won't save you, words won't either. You're trying to reconnect with a woman who doesn't just remember what went wrong, she feels it every time she sees your face. That's the crisis. It's not about love. She might still love you. It's not about effort. You're probably giving it all your all. It's about the emotional filter she now sees you through, a lens shaped by pain, mistrust, and fear. When that filter is in place, your calmness looks fake. Your affection feels forced. Your apologies sound completely hollow. And if you're like most men in this situation, you even try harder and fall even faster. Because without a system for restoring safety and shifting her experience of you, your best efforts will and do backfire. That's why most men fail. Not because they're bad men, not because they didn't try hard enough, but because they've tried to win her heart back by using the strategies that just work in business, but fail miserably in marriage. The good news is, once you see the game you're actually playing, you can start playing to win. That's what this system is for. So we'll get right into it. Okay, the emotional healing process. This is where pretty much the meat and potatoes is of everything. And this is where a lot of the, I guess you could say, nitty-gritty is going to happen. This is one of the most crucial and pivotal points. We have a three-phase system: the emotional healing, the emotional shifting, and the emotional bonding process. Most men just want to dive right in to the emotional bonding process, but that's not how things work for women. Women need it this way, especially if she keeps bringing up the past, especially if she's angry, especially if she hurts, with all of these wounds. This is because this allows her to process things in her feminine and then rely on your masculine in order to really move the needle towards you guys reconnecting, building better than before, and making sure this doesn't hurt you in the future. So this is where it all begins. You can't skip this phase. This is basically the triage zone, where the bleeding has to stop before anything can heal. You have to. Most men try to fix it surface level, and that's very naive. You can't fix surface level. You can't do more things. You can't just think that because you talked a couple of times that things are actually going to feel better, okay, or be better, because she might just be repressing those. She might just be doing it out of obligation, and we don't want that. We want to make sure that we just go down to the few core issues. There's a lot of other little symptoms to the problem, and the feminine will speak the symptoms, but it's your job in your masculine to go in and find the few core issues so that you can execute and heal those. If your wife is cold, guarded, emotionally flat, or even hostile, you're not in a communication problem. You're in a safety problem. That's huge. Most men get that wrong. And here's what most men miss. You cannot build connection with a woman who doesn't feel emotionally safe. We also talk about other factors of safety. Right? I got this from the Air Force. Right? There are pillars that make up the human. Right? I call them mind, body, spirit, and social. Okay? So she needs to physically feel safe with you. She needs to mentally feel safe with you, emotional wise. She needs to socially feel safe with you, which means that she needs to be able to talk to you, okay? And she needs to spiritually feel safe with you. That means her feminine needs to be able to open up and express, while your masculine is grounding her and protecting her. That means the first step is not to get her to open up, it's to become the kind of man she can breathe around again. This isn't about chasing or pleasing, it's about calming the storm, starting with yourself. You are the biggest factor in this equation, okay? You need to realize that this equation is A plus B equals C. If you change that variable, which is you, and you make it X, D, F, G, doesn't matter. That's going to change the whole equation and the outcome. And the way that it's going right now, the outcome does not look good. What does that actually look like? Well, it looks like this. Lowering emotional temperature of every interaction, no matter what she throws at you. Most men cannot stay grounded in their presence and in their masculine. Most men allow her energy to throw them off. You need to stay grounded in your masculine. That's why the feminine relies on the masculine. Breaking your default reactions, frustration, over-explaining, proving, and fixing, right? You don't want to react. You want to respond and be proactive. They say that an ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure, okay? Becoming the thermostat in your home, not the thermometer reacting to her moods. You need to set the environment. I always say that men go out and make and build the house, women make it a home. Most men think, yeah, I'm going to go off and I'm just going to, bring home the bacon and I'm going to make sure I build the kingdom, build the house. Well, that's not all of it, okay? A good majority of it, too, is on a very deeper level, when I teach private clients, is when a man builds a house, he is cultivating the environment for the feminine to come in and fully express herself, okay? So you dictate the environment that your family reacts to, responds to. You are the thermostat. You control the climate and the temperature, okay? You don't want to react. That's emotional. You want to respond. You want to be proactive. You want to lead. Because in this phase, what she feels is way more important than what you say. And here's the key truth. She's not listening to your words. She's scanning for proof that it's safe to trust you emotionally. I always tell guys there's like a tally mark system that she has in her brain, okay? And all those tallies aren't like chronological. No, they're emotional. She feels all of those interactions, okay? That means this phase isn't flashy. It's not about big gestures. It's about creating dozens of quiet, subtle moments where she doesn't feel like she has to protect herself from you anymore. Let me paint a picture. Imagine this. You walk into the kitchen, she's moving fast, avoiding eye contact. You ask her how her day was, and she gives you a cold, fine. Old you might have shut down, gotten sarcastic, or poked at her defenses. But the heroic husband version of you stay grounded, you don't take the bait, you respond with calm, not control, but you're not trying to win a conversation, you're trying to rebuild the climate. This is how you begin to interpret the trauma loop she's stuck in with you. Every time she expects you to overreact and you don't, you earn back 1% trust. Every time you stay regulated under pressure, you plant the seed for safety. Every time you respect space without getting needy, which is extremely important, this cycle of codependency, her body gets the message. He's not who he was. And here's something most men don't realize. The moment she starts to feel safe again, she will begin to see you differently again. Not because you told her to, because her body told her she finally can, okay? And this is where the magic happens. This is where she's able to express herself with you. This is where all of that work comes into play, okay? And now this is extremely important because now you don't want to refeed that old image because she's going to be very skeptical. She's going to be very guarded. Okay, she's going to be looking for any little thing. And this is where your mindset comes in. This is where you come in. Your energy, your masculinity, your leadership with your family comes in. This is where you need to move forward, regardless of what happens, what she says, or what she does. This is where you take control of the relationship, not in a demanding, forceful way, but in the way that your masculinity truly shows up for your family. So phase one is not about proving, it's about patterning, right? It's about becoming, being. You're patterning calm, control, and consistency, even in the silence. And this is where being calm, controlled, and consistent comes into effect, because she needs to see it, she needs to feel it, she needs to be in it, okay? Even in the silence. And when her nervous system starts to soften, which she will, the door to phase two opens. Phase two, the emotional shifting process. If the first phase was about stabilizing the emotional climate, the second phase is about changing the emotional forecast day by day. The emotional shifting process is what allows your wife to start experiencing new emotional data. This is how you start rewiring the emotional memories that are tied to you. Because right now, she doesn't just remember what happened, she feels it every time she looks at you. I like to think about it like Bill Murray's Groundhog Day. Instead of it being like a chronological thing where you wake up every day and it's just something that you just relive and refeel, what your wife is doing is she's emotionally going through all that pain all over again. It's not chronological of he did this, I felt this, oh, I did this is how he reacted. No. It is literally the pain she felt. I felt alone. I was looking for comfort, so on and so forth, okay? And then all of the negative emotions that come from it as well. Let that sink in for a second. Her nervous system is reliving past versions of you. The moments you snapped, checked out, defended yourself, or were even dismissive. This is where your efforts in phase one begin to open up the door for phase two, especially allowing it to work for you, okay? But now that door needs to show her a new reality, especially, and you might ask how, but especially because she might just peek in, right? Sometimes some women just go full in to see, let me see if this is real, okay? Some women might not even want to go to that door because they're hopeless and they're scared. So again, you might ask how? By giving her a different experience of you consistently, okay? This is like if you knew a guy who wasn't about his word, who had a legacy that was created by him through other guys. You knew a guy who knew a guy who knew him. You guys all knew the negatives about him. His consistency has to be so solid, not even one slip up. Now, I'm not saying for you, I'm saying for that gentleman in general. But you need to remain consistent to change that pattern that she has already ingrained, that rut she has already gone down. So let's break it down into practical shifts, micro moments that feel different. When she expects you to get frustrated, you pause, breathe, and stay steady. When she expects you to emotionally withdraw, you lean in calmly. When she gives you nothing, you don't react or collapse. You show up with stability. You're not doing this for validation. You're doing it to rebuild emotional muscle memory. That validation piece is extremely important because a lot of guys are stuck in this dopamine cycle of being validated by their wife. That's not what she wants, and that's not what's best for you. You need to make sure you unhook from that validation and find validation within yourself. That true internal shift is what's going to allow that rebuild of the emotional muscle memory to happen faster. 2, your patterns, right? Pattern interrupts. Remember, the brain loves patterns, and that's why trauma loops feel so permanent. So we start to create new patterns. You show up in unexpected but emotionally safe ways. A soft thank you when she's cold. Nonverbal gestures of affection without expecting anything back. A moment of active listening where you reflect what she's saying and ask for nothing in return. These pattern breaks are small, but they shock the emotional system. They tell her something's different. 3, safety through strategic consistency. This isn't about grand gestures or daily love letters. It's about small, repeatable actions that over time begin to dismantle the wall. By the way, those daily grand gestures, she's actually looking at it as more of a manipulation tactic. So if you're doing that and you're like, oh my God, why isn't she seeing this? Well, she feels like she's being manipulated. So that's not good. It's the People think the big things matter, but for women, and actually most people in general, okay, it's the small things that have the greatest, most potent impact that most people overlook. We call this strategic emotional repatterning inside the heroic husband method. And it works because you're not asking her to trust you again. You're earning it with patterns that interrupt her old story about you and installing a new one. Let me give you a real story to drive this home. We have a client, we'll call him David, right? So David's "she'll never come back" text. David came to us while living in a guest room. His wife had blocked him on social media, mainly Facebook and Instagram. They only communicated through logistics, and she had even told her family it was over. It was like she was basically broadcasting it to the world. He was crushed, but also ready. He started implementing the EHP phase, and within 10 days, she noticed something. His tone was different. His reactions weren't defensive. His eyes looked calmer. She didn't say anything at first, but one morning he found a text she accidentally left open on the iPad. It's always the iPad. It's always the iPad. It said, "I don't know what's happening. He feels different. Like I can breathe when he's around again." That's the shift. It's not loud. It's not dramatic, but it's visceral. It's deep. When she starts breathing easier around you again, the doors open wider. Okay, that allows her feminine to come out. And that's when we enter phase 3. Phase 3 is the emotional bonding process. By now, your wife has started to experience you differently. The tension has started to drop, the ice is melting. But this next phase, this is where things start to feel real again, where laughter returns, where her guard begins to lower. Not because she decided to, but because she feels safe enough to. Now, this is also extremely important because when you're building up to this, what you're actually doing is you're going through our process as well, to where we show you through the deep needs of a person how to build up your esteem and get into this, what we call is also, this is more like inside lingo. This is more of the Renaissance period. Okay, this is where you start working on being a Renaissance man. And when she starts to and she begins to lower her guard, it's because she chooses to. She wants to, okay? Because not only are you becoming irreplaceable, you're building yourself up in ways that a human needs to build themselves up so they're completely self-actualized, which means you are reaching the fullest potential that you can, right? Everywhere, holistically. Not just in your job, not just in your business, not just in what you do, but your family, the place where it matters the most. That is one of the areas that they say unlocks the full human experience, your family. I know with my little guy, when I look at him and how he looks at me, and he looks like a carbon copy of me, just a little person form, and I'm looking at him, and I'm looking in his eyes. That's where it all matters. And that's what we build up to, especially in this bonding process, okay? Because that choice that she makes, that desire, that want, not just because she all of a sudden decides to, no, it's because she has a magnetic pull. She has this desire, this burning, genuine desire created within her to want to stay, to where she knows, and we've had people tell us, like, Noah, my wife admitted she fucked up. Yeah. She's going to when you go through this process. She's going to. And not because we're forcing her to, or that's what we want to do to win. No, because we are building the foundations. We are going deep. We are shifting the way that she feels about things. We are shifting the way that you talk about yourself and feel about things. Because that internal, like I just told you in that equation is so pivotal to all of this. And when the laughter returns, where her guards begin to lower, this is where you're going to be like, what? I can't believe that this is happening. This is like amazing. What is going on here? That is where you keep going. Don't let off that gas pedal. This is where that choice, that genuine burning desire comes from. And this is what you want to keep happening so you continue to win. So the emotional bonding process is not about performance. It's not about a show, right? It's not about theatrics. It's not about convincing. It's about receiving the fruit of the work you've already been doing and learning how to nurture it into lasting intimacy. This is where you're planting seeds And you don't really see all the roots that are forming. You don't see the hardcore roots that are thick, that are there to last, that are growing exponentially. Then all of a sudden it explodes, right? In a good way. The tree shoots up. You don't go and you don't tug on the tree to make it grow. You feed it, you nurture it. This is where that process comes in. And this is what I've learned from the military, and this is what I've learned in general. Slow is smooth and smooth is fast, okay? When you are able to continue, when you are able to make sure that you understand how pain plus reflection equals growth, which is a deep concept that we teach about, when you're able to push forward with that, okay, this is where your fruit begins to show, right? This is where all the farming comes in. Most guys want to hunt and go after it, especially men who are very successful. They just want to go hunt and fix it. But that is where the problem comes in, because it's a human relationship. It's like a tree. You can't tug on the tree to make it grow. You can't. But slow is smooth and smooth is fast. We've had guys turn things around in 2 weeks. We've had guys turn things around in 30 days, right? Because of the energy that's behind them, the potency that's behind them, okay? That is one of the most important things about this, especially during the emotional bonding process. If phase 1 was triage, phase 2 is rewiring, phase 3 is complete restoration. This is where warmth, playfulness, even affection returns without being forced. This is why you can't just skip to it, right? You have to make sure you do this in the correct manner, because women are completely different from men. Men just want to go straight to the sex, straight to the dating, straight to building up and bonding and getting closeness. But she was begging for that for so long. She was begging for that for so long. And she went through her own grieving stages. She went through her own grieving process. Literally, the whole thing. Anger, denial, all of it. Bargaining, and then acceptance is that final where she's like, all right, we're getting divorced. And that bargaining portion, those were what we call little cries for help. Little cries for help were happening to where she was like, hey, something's wrong. I need you to fix it. But 9 times out of 10, either we don't see it or we're just like, it'll blow over. It'll get better. But it doesn't. And in this part, the bonding phase, this is where all of that warmth and playfulness return. Let me be clear. This is not where you go back to normal, right? This is where you build better than before, because you can't reset your relationship. It's not a computer. You have to build better than before. What makes the EBP work? It's all about reestablishing emotional intimacy in ways that rebuild desire, okay? Not just duty. Let's look at 3 key dimensions. 1, shared experiences. Remember how you bonded when you were dating? It wasn't through chores or logistics. It was through newness, curiosity, laughter, adventure. This is extremely important because even to build rapport, we break it down into equation of recency plus relevancy equals familiarity. Oh no, recency, relevancy, and familiarity equals rapport. You have to rebuild that rapport with your wife because you are going through different phases, right? I call it the three phases, the honeymoon, the adjustment, and the commitment. So you can do that for love, but also in new experiences that you go with each other. The woman that you first met when you guys were dating is completely different than the woman that you became fiancés with, newlyweds with, first kid, second kid, even someone dying in the family, losing your job, getting a new job. Those are all beautiful, beautiful things that you go through, right? And that's what creates the deep bond, not the chores, talking about logistics, no contact, smart contact. No, it's going through it, being curious about each other, growing, boosting each other up. That's why self-actualization and making sure that you're always working towards that is amazing, because once you become self-actualized and you are looking around you, which means, by the way, self-actualization is being the best, most authentic, unfiltered version of yourself, right? To the best degree, okay? When you are being self-actualized, that's reflecting, because a hard truth that most men can't face is their women are a reflection of them and their leadership skills, because the feminine surrenders into the masculine. Even if she's a CEO, she's a high achiever, she needs you to be even more in your masculine to allow her to, okay? So this is through newness, curiosity, laughter, and adventure. We bring that back here strategically. That might look like this: planning a small but meaningful outing. Even if she says no, you still plan it with calm leadership. Reading something together, connects to her world. Asking deep, open-ended questions that signal interest again, not interrogation, which is huge. Most men are always interrogating. It's about being quizzical. It's about being genuinely curious into who your wife is now or what your wife is involving herself with. You're rebuilding friendship and fascination, two things that make love last. 2, safe affection. In this phase, physical touch can begin to return, not only where it's grounded in emotional safety. This means not rushing physical connection, not reacting if she pulls away, allowing closeness to emerge through emotional warmth, not physical demand. And when affection does return, you hold it with honor like it's sacred, because it is. 3, co-creation of the future. This especially is one of the biggest emotional shifts that tells her this isn't just a phase. You start inviting her into what we call the emotional vision casting, okay? One of the superpowers of women is that they can project out into the future, okay? So when she first got with you, she saw all the amazing qualities. And this is interesting too. So when women first go on dates with men, all the stories that you tell her, especially if your friends tell her, or your family tells her, all of the the pictures that she'll see with you, all of that, right? She casts herself there with you. She imagines herself there with you and projects out into the future what you can be, okay? And the most beautiful thing is her feminine is actually looking at your masculine at its peak, okay? But along the way, that vision gets as clear as mud, right? It just starts to wane with all the hurt, the emotional damage, and all of that, right? And honestly, if you think about it like this, that's why women are the biggest consumers of murder mystery podcasts and documentaries, because they need to know what the future holds. If they don't know where the future holds, it brings them a crazy amount of anxiety, like so much anxiety. So with murder mystery, podcasts and documentaries, they know how it's going to end, so that allows them to enjoy the journey. So when her vision right now, especially if she says there's nothing that you can, her vision is like, right now, as things are, I cannot see how this can change. And that's where we start with vision casting, okay? What would it feel like to do X with you again? If we had a weekend, just us, no pressure. Where would you go? When we're 80, what do you want our mornings to look like? These questions don't demand commitment. They open up possibility, because now she's not reacting to pain. She's imagining life with you from a place of peace. And that's the spark. That's when you go from tolerated to trusted to chosen again. Now let's talk about where most men go wrong. You could be implementing parts of this system or trying to do it on your own, but these 5 common traps will slow you down, sabotage momentum, which is huge, or worse, push her further away, even when your heart is in the right place. So let's go through them quickly. Mistake number 1, trying to fix her emotions. Right. This happens when you hear her pain and immediately jump to defend, explain, or offer solutions. But her pain isn't a logical problem, it's an emotional reality. What she actually wants is for you to sit in it with her, not to solve it, not to explain it, just to be there. Mistake number 2, waiting too long to start. You don't need to wait for the right time to lead. When you're in a marriage crisis, there's no perfect moment. The longer you delay visible change, the more her negative filter solidifies. You rebuild trust by acting now, not reacting later. Mistake number 3, copy and paste romantic gestures. This is a big one. Gifts, flowers, surprise trips, they aren't bad, but they only work after emotional safety is rebuilt. Otherwise, they feel performative and even manipulative. And your wife is probably also going to feel like she's pressured. I have a lot of guys who go, well, we're going to go on this vacation. We're going to go do this. We're going to go do that. A lot of it, we'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll make a decision afterwards. A lot of it, like I said, an ounce of prevention is better and more valuable than a pound of cure, okay? A lot of that whole vacations gift, all that stuff, she thinks is very manipulative. She's going to do it out of obligation, which is going to make her feel more pressure, when you actually want it to be done out of genuine burning want and desire, which you can create beforehand, even during. Instead, build emotional connection before you escalate intimacy or gifts. Mistake number 4, expecting quick validation. You need to unhook and stop being dependent on her validation. That just creates codependency and it weakens your power as a man and weakens your masculinity. This is a big one. You do something good, kind, consistent, and then you look for her reaction. Like you're like, you're doing it to get something from her, right? Not wanting for her. You want to get something from. When it doesn't come, you get discouraged. But this journey is long game leadership. She's not looking at what you did yesterday. She's watching to see what you're still doing 30 days from now. That's when her heart starts to believe. Mistake number 5, doing it alone. You're probably used to figuring things out solo. But when your family, your heart, and your legacy are on the line, going at it alone is a risk you don't need to take. We built the Heroic Husband Method so men like you don't have to guess. We help you lead from strategy, from confidence, from structure. That leads us to the final section. Let's address a few thoughts you might still have. What if she's completely shut down and not responding at all? That's exactly why phase 1 is so important. We teach you how to shift the dynamic without needing her participation at first. Her nervous system is on defense mode. We show you how to slowly help it release, even in silence. What if I've already tried therapy or courses and nothing stuck? Therapy is great for understanding. This is execution. We give you a step-by-step daily framework that creates measurable behavioral change she can feel. Not theory, not awareness, change she trusts. What if she's already moved on? We've worked with men whose wives were in other relationships, moved out, and had zero interest in reconciliation until he shifted how he led. You can't control her, but you can influence the environment. This goes back to men build a house, women make it a home. And her experience of you in ways that change everything. What if I mess up again? You will, we all do. But that's why this method works. It's not about perfection, it's about pattern progression. We help you build systems of emotional consistency so you don't rely on willpower, you rely on rhythm. You rebuild her belief through consistency, not flawlessness. So let's recap. There are 3 emotional phases to saving your marriage and rebuilding her trust. Emotional healing process, calm the storm, regulate your presence, restore safety. The emotional shifting process, repattern how she experiences you, install new emotional memories. The emotional bonding process, we build warmth, affection, and forward vision stronger than before. Each phase stack on the last. Each phase is rooted in behavioral change she can feel. Each phase is part of a full transformational framework that has helped hundreds of high-performing men like you, men who felt out of control at home, but weren't ready to give up. If that's you, if you're trying to do random tactics, if you're tired of all the guesswork, then now is the time to act. Book your free Heroic Husband Clarity Call. No sales pressure, just a real honest conversation about what's working, what's not, and what to do next. Because the longer you wait, the more her nervous system assumes nothing is changing. You don't need more talking. You don't need more reading. You need a structured plan and a support system that helps you lead it. We've got that. And we've got your back. So let's rebuild. You've got this. So go down to the description below. Go book that call. Or you can even go down below and get our Heroic Husband book. See you in the next video.